Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought to yourself, like, God, what happened to me? I'm supposed to be a firefighter. You wake up one day, see a photo of yourself, maybe you just catch a glance in the mirror and you wonder, where did I go wrong? And here's the truth, because this isn't just a problem that follows you home, it's a problem that follows you to the station, and it's something that you can feel on calls if you're being really honest with yourself. Training at the station is more exhausting than ever. Your bottle time is draining faster on every fire, and God forbid you catch some stairs with your gear on. Maybe there's some aches and pains that didn't used to be there when you were 30 pounds lighter. But the real question is, how long are we gonna sit around and think about the academy days as the best shape you were ever in? That's kind of twisted, isn't it? The best shape that you were ever in is before you were a firefighter in the first place? In this video, I'm gonna tell you the exact steps that I took as a full-time career firefighter in order to get rid of the 25 pounds that I put on in my first year. And what's more, how you can do the same without burning out and hating your life in the process. Now, not only is this the same strategy that I used to turn my life around, but it's also been used successfully by over 1,000 other active duty firefighters. So let's get into it. First, I want you to understand that this isn't necessarily a problem that is completely unique to you. In fact, a recent study published in the National Library of Medicine found that over 70% of firefighters fall into the category of being either overweight or obese. Now, there's clearly something going on here, and I think it makes sense when you actually get down to thinking about it, because in the academy, they teach us about these things. They teach us about these problems, but they don't really provide anyone with the knowledge or the resources to have long-term success in combating these issues. If it's anything like my academy, it's mostly just a pat on the ass and a good luck on your way out. Maybe it's not your fault, but that doesn't mean that it's not your responsibility to do something about it. The truth is, even if that is the way that things are in the fire service currently, that doesn't change the fact that there are people's lives hanging in the balance, people who need you to be in shape. We're talking about the citizens you swore to help. We're talking about the crew that depends on you to be in tip-top shape. And we're talking about the family that you have at home that's counting on you to keep walking back in through the front door after every shift. So many firefighter deaths fall under the category of preventable. And most of the time, those preventable deaths would have a much different outcome if the firefighter in question would have had better control over their health and their fitness levels. But instead, they were ripped away from their families early. They had a cardiac event on scene or in the middle of the night, or even worse, they made it into their retirement just to have that cut short after decades of service. In fact, one of these stories is why I'm in front of this camera here today. And the person in question is one of the reasons that I joined the fire service in the first place. My uncle was a man named Sean Goldie. He served 25 years in the fire service and retired as a battalion chief at the St. Clair Shores Fire Department in Michigan. He gave me a spare pair of turnout gear for my academy. He was the kind of guy that would give you the shirt off his back if you asked it of him. And here's the thing, when Sean retired, he didn't even leave the fire service. You know what he did? He went and worked at another fire department. Not as a chief, not even as an officer. He went and started again as a probie. He was working on a box again. Honestly, even I was a little confused. And if I'm being honest, that wasn't what I heard people doing in their retirement. When I asked him about it, he kind of just told me that he missed being on the road. And he said, I love it. You know, that's the kind of guy that we're talking about here. And then 6 months after his retirement, we're putting him in the ground. 25 years of service, and he never stopped giving. 25 years of sacrifice, and still that was the outcome. A widowed wife, teenage children without a father, and a broken fire department. And here's the thing, we can be honest, because this story, it's not unique to me. It's one that takes shape all of the time in the fire service. There's really only one question that's left after hearing about these experiences, which is, what's the lesson? And what can we do to prevent more of these kind of situations developing in the future? The thing is, obesity is a massive comorbidity for all-cause mortality, especially in the fire service. Now, this is coming from the same study that I cited earlier, and I quote, with each 1 unit increase in BMI, it is associated with a 5% increase in risk of job disability. Those with class 1 obesity or class 2 and 3 obesity combined had a 17 and 56% greater risk for disability when compared with normal weight firefighters. So what can we do about it? The biggest shift that I made around this problem was the realization that it wasn't about the knowledge, the discipline, or the willpower that I had. It was completely about the culture and the lifestyle I was living. And more importantly, I kept trying to use methods that worked before I entered the fire service, but no longer made sense once my lifestyle changed. So instead of having strategies for something that I was actually in alignment with, I was using strategies that always created friction and never set me up for actual success. And let's be honest, the problem wasn't losing weight. It was keeping it off. It was being able to sustain it long term. So here's what I did, broken into 3 easy steps. First, I kept it stupid simple. And here's the thing, I get it, there's too much garbage info online. What we have to do is cut through the noise. Simple equals sustainable, and none of this applies more than with your nutrition. So here's what I did. You're gonna fight how simple this is. I'm going to implore you to listen and apply it. Number 1, probably the most important, I controlled for my calories. I used the equation of my goal body weight times the number 13. That's it. Trust me, do not make it more complicated than this. And here's the thing, you're probably thinking that if you're writing this number down right now, hey, this seems like a little bit more than I was expecting. And that's the point, because the goal isn't massive and fast weight loss. It's not to cut corners. It's to be sustainable and progressive with your weight loss over time. Second, also massively important, I got really hyper serious about walking. Not more cardio, not higher heart rates, just good old-fashioned walking. Walking 10 to 12,000 steps per day absolutely changed the game for me. Now, you might not know this, but walking actually burns more fat than cardio. So here's how it works. When you're doing cardio, your body needs that energy really fast. And the truth is, using fat as an energy source is too slow in those situations. So what does your body do? It switches to using 100% glucose as the fuel source because it's very fast, it's very accessible. This is where you see long distance runners who kind of look skinny fat. Number 3, and probably most important, is I flipped the equation when it came to something called the firefighter performance pyramid. The fact is, most programs have it wrong and they put recovery as an afterthought. That is not an option for firefighters. Go ahead and run 6 calls after midnight and tell me that that doesn't have an effect on the way that you perform. We have to flip that equation and put recovery at the beginning. It is the highest priority. And something incredible happens when you actually do this, when you're actually able to get rest and recover the way that you need to. It becomes sustainable, it becomes natural, and your body begins to have what it's been missing the entire time. If you put just these 3 concepts into action, I promise you, you will begin to see positive results in the next 2 weeks. So just take out the complication, simplify, and learn how to recover appropriately. Now, if you've been trying to do this on your own for a while without a lot of success and you're tired of the guesswork, the good news is I did create a free 12-week fat loss protocol designed specifically for firefighters that you can find in the description below. And lastly, if I was able to convince you that recovery is something that you should actually prioritize as a firefighter, but you don't know exactly what kind of workout routine would help you with that, then check out this video here where I break down what kind of workouts you should be doing to get back to your academy weight. Remember, being in shape is part of the uniform. Until next time.